it's impossible to be authentic when you're constantly consuming, right? So, because I was watching a video recently, the Jet Franzen kid, I've already mentioned him before. You guys are probably familiar with who he is. Very popular in the whole, philosophy yapping niche, whatever this niche is. Um, but yeah, I mean, regardless, very popular figure in this niche, right? Sorry about that. I was just scooting up my chair. Anyway, but yeah, very popular figure in this niche, right? And he was talking about how I saw his podcast um, with what's that guy's name? I forgot. But he was in a podcast recently. Jack Neal, that's his name, and he was talking about how one of the deadly sins of men in this generation is overconsumption, and I could not agree more because I think that, and just not even with just men. I won't point the finger at just men, with everyone, right? Like because it's not even with just like social media, right? Like because obviously social media is like the most commonly known, widely used form of consumption, right? Because people scroll, people, watch stuff that, stuff like that. But it also goes into like other, streaming type services or whatever, that like, movies, TV shows, that type of consumption. And then, you get into like, product consumption. So like, constantly consuming and buying, products, stuff that you don't need, right? Um, so consumption is on many planes of, understanding in this context, right? But I'm making this video because for me personally, I deleted all of my social media platforms. Um, Probably, I think it was about 3 months ago. I think it was about 3 months ago that I decided to delete all of my social media platforms, not my accounts, just the platforms themselves, like the apps, off of my phone, like including YouTube and Snapchat, because I used to be, I never was really a big fan of like Instagram and Facebook because those are like notoriously, programs that people get on them and they're just like extremely superficial, always trying to one up you. Like people never, it's just the most highlight reel type of platform ever, right? I never really liked that. I was like, this is dumb. This is not authentic at all. Um, so I never really liked. So it wasn't hard for me to delete those, but deleting the YouTube app and Snapchat was really difficult because I used to justify it saying, hey, like YouTube is good for like education and like YouTube is a good platform, and I still agree with that, and I still watch YouTube. I just don't watch YouTube Shorts. Like I mean, sometimes shamelessly, I will sometimes scroll YouTube Shorts for like a couple minutes on the computer, but it's obviously not the same and not as addictive. I don't know how to explain it, um, but it's just not the same as the phone, right? Um, but yeah, so I still watch YouTube, or whatever, like while I'm working and stuff, because I still like love YouTube. But even Snapchat, like the Snapchat Spotlight and stuff like that, I was just like, this is dumb. And like once I got out of college and stuff, and like I was moving, I was like moving away from the area, and I wasn't gonna talk to them as much. It was like, okay, like if you really want to contact me, you have my phone number. Otherwise, I don't really want to use Snapchat because it's just wasting my time. Because I just keep going on there and scrolling the spotlight, right? So that's how I feel about that. Like all the people who really f with me and like me and stuff will call me on my number. The ones who I knew on Snapchat and no one's on Snapchat, like it's whatever. Like who cares? Um, but yeah, so that's where I was at. So and I'm almost 24 years old, and it's not like, oh, like I'm too old or whatever. Like I need to mature and be better. But I feel like I'm just at that age where I'm like, okay, I don't really need to be on like a social media platform like that, because it's like, okay, like if you really like I said, like I'm kind of just going in circles with this. But if people really want to contact me and they know me well enough, they will have my number. And if they don't, then they can ask for I don't even know. They like if people really want to contact me, they can just call me. That's my point. Anyway, um, But yeah, and so I've deleted all my social media apps, like literally every single one, even though, and I did like Facebook for Facebook Marketplace, but again, I can just do that on my laptop. So yeah, like overall, uh, I have had a really good experience. I really truly believe that my life has been better ever since deleting those apps because I don't spend as much time scrolling. I don't feel like crap when I see some, alleged 20-year-old millionaire or whatever with a Lamborghini and stuff. Like all these superficial things. Like it's just not able to drain as much of my energy anymore. So I'm getting a lot of my I'm starting to get a lot of my positive energy back, I feel like. Um, and so that's part of the reason why I'm making this video, because that was kind of like a really long yap session about like my personal experience with like quitting social media and stuff, but or quitting the social media apps, and most of the social media platforms, because I really only deal with YouTube, like posting and consuming most of the time, because YouTube is the goat, of course. But but yeah, so I wanted to make a video because I think it truly is impossible to be authentic if you're constantly consuming. Because if you're constantly consuming, it goes back to that whole thing where when we were kids, like I don't know about you, but my parents always used to say like, who you surround yourself with is who you'll become. And I think that's a very common thing that people say. Like I don't think that that's not like I think probably at least like 99% of the people watching this video like have heard that at some point. Like I'd be surprised if you didn't. Um, but it goes back to that principle, right? Because obviously, when you're around a certain amount of people, or like a certain group or whatever, like no matter how strong you are or whatever, you're just gonna mold yourself to them. Like I'm kind of living. I feel like I'm living proof of this. Like I'm not gonna go super deep into detail, but the people that I went to school with were not the best influences, and they definitely had an impact on who I became as a person, and which is fine. Like it wasn't all bad, but there's a couple things that it is what it is, right? Um, so yeah, I mean that's just like a very old rule that people say that is very true. Like no one can argue that. But I think that it goes beyond that in terms of consumption, because it's like whenever you consume, it's the same type of thing, right? Because whenever you're around people, you're consuming their energy, right? So that's how that happens. Whenever you're around a group, that's how you become like them, because you're consuming their energy, right? So they have a certain energy about them and you're consuming it whether you like it or not, because your subconscious is consuming everything. That's why it's important to manage the music that you're listening to, manage the content you're consuming, which is exactly what I'm getting into in this video. It's why it's good to manage the people you're around, the job that you're working, like all that type of stuff. That's why it's good to be authentic with everything that you do, because if you're authentic with everything that you do, then the energy around you is gonna match you, and it's gonna boost you instead of taking away from you. And that's the whole point of this video, which I've said that like this. That's like the fifth time I've said that, but I'm just getting super passionate about it because that's the truth. So they have a certain energy about them, but the thing that people don't realize is that so does all these other things that you're consuming. They all have energy to them. It's all just energy, right? So you're consuming this energy from all the content that you're, taking in from, the content that you're consuming on social media. And so I think that's genuinely part of the reason why people are struggling with their purpose nowadays, because you hear so many people my age, and I've been there and I'm still kind of there, where I'm like, oh, I'm not really sure what my purpose is. I'm struggling with, with the whole purpose of life, whatever, right? Not in like a depression way, but in a way where it's like, okay, I want direction. And I think one point that my dad brought up one time when we were talking about it is um, he was saying like it's actually crazy um, because if you think about it, we can live like 20 different lives within like 20 minutes. You go on social media and you see all these different perspectives of all these different people, and you've lived multiple people's different lives, and so then you're done, and it gives you that yucky feeling because you're not there, right? Because it's a highlight reel, but then it's also like, dang, like what is the point of doing anything? Because I already know what the outcome of that is because I saw that person doing it on social media, right? So that's why like the people who like scroll for hours a day on end, that I think that's I mean, along with the hit that it takes to your your dopamine and your like your dopamine system, your reward system, right? Because that's it takes a hit to your reward system. But along with that, it's also just like the logistical standpoint of, yeah, if you've seen what happens on the end of all these different perspectives, what is the point, right? And so that's why that like I don't know if this makes any sense. That's why it's important to get off social media and consume less and create more, because that's what the Jet Kid was saying on the podcast. He was like, you need to create more than you consume, or whatever, right? And I think that's true because if you're consuming like a ton, like a lot of people are nowadays, where they're like watching YouTube, then they're watching a show, then they're scrolling on Reels, right? And they're using all their free time doing that. It's like you're not even being yourself because you're just taking in all this external energy from these other people, and so you're becoming them. And so but you're also taking in like multiple different perspectives, so then by the end of it, and you do that for months, years on end, then there's so many things that you know about, but it's also like you don't know anything really about them because you've never experienced them. So then you find yourself lost, but then you also feel like you don't know what identity to pick because you've seen these different perspectives. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's the best way that I can explain it, like in my own words. So I think that's what a lot of people are struggling with. And so that's why it's impossible to be authentic when you're constantly consuming, because you can never truly introspect and figure out what you want when you're constantly subconsciously consuming what other people want and are chasing after. If that makes sense. So that's why it's important to, like, number one, I don't care who you are or whatever. And I make long form YouTube videos, so you can get on your laptop and watch my videos, if you like my videos. I would strongly recommend deleting all your social media apps. Like, genuinely. Like if I could give a piece of advice to someone, and if you took anything away from this video, I would say delete your social media apps. You don't have to delete your accounts or anything, none of that, right? Because like there's stuff on there, there's people you follow, whatever, right? And if you go on there and you browse every once in a while, it's probably not a bad thing either, right? But you definitely don't need to be on social media every day or even every week, right? You like at all, right? So it's just like, in my opinion. So that's the biggest thing that I think that you should take away is like literally delete all your social media apps, even Snapchat and like all of the messaging apps, like any app that is like sucking your time and your energy, kind of like the reels and stuff. Delete it. Just delete it. Get rid of it. Figure out what you want to do with your life, because it's impossible to, like I've been saying, to figure out who you want to be when you're constantly seeing and watching people who have number one become who they want to be and are also struggling to figure out who they want to be, and you're following their journey but you're not creating your own journey, right? You're just watching other people's journeys. So, because I mean, and also it's like literally a waste of time too. That's the other part that I didn't mention. Like, it's a waste of time, and it just makes you feel like crap, right? Like, it literally makes you feel like trash. Um, if you sit there for hours and you're like, oh, well, I could have been way more productive with my time and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. This video was kind of all over the place. I don't know if any of it made sense, and I probably will make another video about it. But I don't know. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe. I don't know. Like, if you like me as a person, you want me to keep making videos, whatever. Maybe, you want me to talk about something. I don't know. You know, but, um, you know, tune in for the next video, I suppose. Love you guys. I'm out. See ya.